Walk through a comic convention or scroll through a fan forum, and you'll see the same phrase over and over. If Daryl dies, we riot. It is one of the most intense fan allegiances in television history, which is strange when you realize Daryl Dixon doesn't exist in the original comic books. He was an accident. Norman Reedus originally auditioned for a different role, but his performance was so compelling that the showrunners invented Daryl on the spot just to keep him on the cast. In a terrifying world of shuffling monsters, we usually expect the hero to be a power-hungry alpha male barking orders. Instead, we got Daryl, a quiet, traumatized outsider who actively avoids being the person in charge. By stripping away the need to dominate others, this character has become a focal point for fans who are looking for a different kind of strength, one that's more about internal resilience than outward control. This maps hegemonic masculinity, an old-world system where a man's value is measured by his ability to dominate his surroundings. But when the world falls apart, this rigid structure becomes a liability. The alpha male becomes a danger to his group. We see this with Daryl's brother, Merle. He relies on crude aggression and violent racism to feel powerful, but in a survival situation, that behavior only leads to isolation and his eventual death. Then there's Shane. His toxic need for territorial ownership over the group, and his obsession with replacing Rick as the head of the family, turns him into a predator that the other survivors eventually have to put down. Even Rick, a former sheriff's deputy, representing the traditional patriarchal protector, frequently buckles under the weight of his own ego and the impossible pressure of being the man in charge. In this new world, being an alpha isn't a survival skill. It's a weight that eventually breaks the men who try to carry it. Daryl was a redneck outsider long before Zombie appeared. He grew up abused and marginalized, living in a world that never offered him a seat at the table of traditional power. Because he never relied on the old social hierarchy to feel like a man, he doesn't feel emasculated when that hierarchy disappears. He's already used to existing on the fringes. During a frantic search for a missing child, Daryl quips, "Am I the only one who's zen around here?" He's not being ironic. He possesses incredible physical power, but he uses it with a calm, quiet restraint that the other men lack. He approaches survival with what scholars call professionalism. He isn't fighting for status. He's focused on the practical work of keeping people alive without needing a title to do it. Unlike the typical action hero, Daryl shows zero interest in predatory behavior or sexual conquest. He never uses his strength to demand intimacy or assert his virility. Being an outsider in the old world is exactly what made him the most balanced and effective survivor in the new one. Daryl shows us a fluid kind of strength. He is capable of extreme, necessary violence against the undead, but he switches that off the moment he interacts with the living. When the group's leadership collapses and a mother is lost, it's Daryl who steps in to bottle feed the newborn baby. He ignores the macho expectation of being a soldier to provide the care the infant needs to survive. He builds deep, protective bonds with characters like Carol and Beth, not because he sees them as property to be guarded, but because he recognizes their shared trauma. His desire to protect them is rooted in empathy. He isn't trying to be the big man on campus. He's trying to heal alongside the people he cares about. By letting himself be vulnerable and forming these connections, Daryl proves that emotional openness isn't a weakness. It's the only thing that actually keeps a group together when everything else is gone. Post-apocalyptic stories act as a cultural barometer. After the morning of September 11th, American media shifted towards these survival narratives as a way to process a new, deep-seated anxiety, the fear that our infrastructure and our protectors could fail in an instant. When the systems of the world stop working, we are forced to ask, what kind of man actually matters when there are no more paychecks to earn or laws to enforce? The massive fan reaction to Daryl Dixon answers that question. People aren't just cheering for a guy with a crossbow. They are identifying with a man who found his value in service and emotional resilience. The fact that millions of viewers have rallied around this quiet outsider suggests that the old-school, power-hungry alpha archetype is losing its appeal for a modern audience. Daryl Dixon shows us that true strength isn't about standing above others. It's about the work of mastering yourself and the courage to stay human in a world that's lost its way.